Hi, guys. I wanted to create an extended learning opportunity for you in order to go over the directions for your westward expansion prompt one more time beyond the instruction that we had in class. The reason that I'm doing this is so that in case you missed instruction, it'll review what we talked about. And I've also created examples in here to help you get started with how to write in my social studies class in relation to historical analysis. So, the question that we're working on is how did westward expansion and conflict impact American opportunity? And what you're going to do is you're going to utilize the multiple worksheets that you got in class, the video clips, and the notes that we took in order to find evidence in support of this question. And your job is you're trying to prove that westward expansion and the conflict that came from it impacted American opportunity. Remember, one of the things we talked about the second day of class when you're looking at our essential question for the class is the first thing you actually need to do is define or categorize what kind of opportunities you're going to talk about. So if you look at step 2, there is a reminder when you are thinking about the word opportunity, you need to think about your categories. So when you choose a piece of evidence, ask yourself, is this economic, political, judicial, etc., excuse me, and then from there, that will help you with your analysis statement. I am asking that you don't have the same category. So if you use political once, you can't use it again. So you need to broaden your definitions because the idea is by the time you get to your final, I want you to have thought about all the different categories that can come from the word opportunity. Okay. This is a required that you actually have a two-step writing process for this. You're going to complete an outline, and then once the outline has been reviewed and feedback has been given, you're going to then reformat that into a well-developed paragraph. All right. So this form that I'm showing you is the directions that you have in Classroom. I'm going on to the next page. The next page is partly filled out, but I do want to make clear that these are my examples and the copy that you have is completely blank. Okay, so the first thing to do is you need to develop a thesis. Remember, a thesis defined as an argument. This is the entire focus of your paper. Everything you do works to answer this thesis. The trick of writing a good thesis is to use the words from the question and then develop a complete thought. So, what I remind you of here is when you restate your question as a statement, make sure to include the topics you're going to talk about. So, for instance, you could say westward expansion and conflict impacted American opportunity through the actions and events of the Mexican American War, Manifest Destiny, and the annexation of Texas. And that will give the reader the idea of the topics that you're going to talk about and what ideas you're going to support as you move forward. Okay. So the example that I'm going to talk about is actually the annexation of Texas. I'm okay if you use my specific example quote, but you cannot use my A or my analysis statement. You do not have permission to do that because this is my work and I want you to develop your own. But the first thing you should do before you do the A in analysis is actually find your evidence first. And a specific example in history, remember, is a detailed fact that has no bias. So if I was talking about the annexation of Texas, some of the things that I should include is a date, a who, a when, a what was going on, something that would give a specific fact that I'm going to analyze as evidence to support my thesis. So in this case, I said in September of 1836, the newly independent Republic of Texas had defeated Mexico to retain control of the country. And after a vote, a large majority voted to join the United States. But the president and Congress opposed this annexation due to the issue of slavery. Now, this is a fact. They voted to join the United States, and the president and the US of Congress decided that they were not going to allow this annexation at first. And maybe I should add those words in, or at the time, maybe, because they were concerned about the issue of slavery. That's a fact. Now, this doesn't make any sense in my brain, though. The reason I chose this quote is what I'm going to talk about in a second. So I have my fact. I put that on my specs line, and you're going to notice after the fact, I actually have a citation. In the case of your textbook, you need to put text and the page number, and that's where I got this from, text 269. If it's from my lecture notes, you would put lecture notes. If it's from the video clip, you would either put PBS or CBS, depending on which one you use. And if it's from a worksheet from the textbook, you have to go to the page number and put text and the page number. If you forget the citation, you won't get credit for Comp 2. So please make sure you do this. It's a really important habit. You have to give credit to your source, even if it's a source that I provided. Then the next step that I'm going to do is I need to introduce not only what the topic I'm talking about, but also the type of opportunity I'm talking about. So you're going to notice up here, this is an introduction to your specs. An A statement is called a supporting details, and its purpose is to transition from idea to idea and to introduce your specific example. So the sentence that I created is, one of the factors that influenced American political opportunity was the issue of annexing Texas. So my focus is not necessarily about Texas and all the conflicts they had. My focus is the aftermath. And so in my brain, I said to myself, well, Congress and the president had a problem, and I would classify Congress and the president as political. So their decisions not to allow Texas to join the Union is a political opportunity being impacted. So my analysis then, I've now decided my category is political. I'm talking about annexing Texas, and I've given the fact. Now, this leads to the last thing, which is your analysis statement. Your analysis is the most important piece of information you're putting in. This is your opinion without using the words my opinion, because it's going to prove how this specific example makes the thesis correct. Okay. So my thesis was westward expansion impacted American opportunity. So my analysis says westward expansion, such as Texas's annexation, became a controversial issue politically for the United States because it opened up the divisive issue over slavery. Get rid of the word of there, because the addition of more states would disrupt the balance of free and slave states. So I'm talking about political in a negative way. I'm saying that when Texas wanted to become annexed, it impacted us politically because now the government, the president and Congress, would have to deal with this issue of slavery, which was a contentious issue in American history. So even though I don't say this was negative, because I kind of use more, if you will, sophisticated language, but you can actually, if it helps you, you can do, if it's a place to start, that's perfectly fine. You could say Texas's annexation impacted American opportunity politically because why? And then finish that thought, if that helps you. As juniors and seniors, my expectation is, though, that you're starting to try to move away from just this very simple narration and you're trying to create more sophisticated language. And that's what I gave you an example of. So, the other thing I want to draw your attention to, the last thing, your opportunities can actually be positive and negative in this writing prompt. They don't need to take one side. And so, what's really important is that I have a negative thing here, but if I were to talk about the Mexican American War next, my analysis could actually talk about the positives of it, because I don't ask, did this make America the land of opportunity? I ask, how did it impact opportunity? So just keep that in mind. So just a refresher, do your specs first. Don't forget citations. Make sure you classify your type of opportunity in your supporting detail statement. The A statement is classifying opportunity as well as introducing your specs. And your analysis is your because statement that explains how your specs supports the thesis. I hope this helps. And as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or ask me in class. Good luck.